I was doing a story on organ trafficking in Pakistan, and one name that had come up repeatedly in conversations with people who'd undergone illegal transplants was a place called the Kidney Center. Now, I wanted to see what it was like inside, what the environment was, what the doctors would say, and there was no way I could go and just interview them saying I'm a journalist and I'd like to know about this. So I knew I had to go in with some patient's documents or a file or something. So by a stroke of good fortune, I actually found a kidney patient who'd been to the kidney center before, and he'd consulted the doctors there, and he hadn't gone back because he found the charges too exorbitant. So with his permission, I took his file with me and went in as somebody who wanted to negotiate with the doctors to get a kind of a better rate for him. And when I got there, just at the entrance, there was heavy security. They took my identity card and checked out my, who I was, noted down my particulars. And when I went inside, on the gate, there was a big sign on the gate saying no photography allowed. And when I went inside, in the waiting room, there'd be attendants were circulating around to check whether anybody was taking photographs. So that obviously showed that this wasn't a regular hospital. And then I went in to see the doctor, and I presented the case and whatever, and I spoke to him, and he gave me two rates. He said, yeah, the lower one was for if the patient had brought his own donor, and the second higher one was if they provided a donor, which of course was a euphemism for getting somebody to sell their kidney. So yeah, I saw for myself how this worked, and when I spoke to him and I said that, but this is really expensive, and he was like, oh, it's the media that's made it all so expensive. We just have to make sure we have every aspect covered. So he really incriminated himself, and the reason I did this was because, one, there was no way I could have got this kind of evidence if I'd walked in with my actual identity, and secondly, there was a very strong public interest element, and I think that's important. It shouldn't be, you're not setting out to just cast aspersions on somebody. There has to be a very strong public interest. I did discuss with my colleagues and my editor about whether I needed to go undercover, and we discussed different ways of doing it. And yes, one suggestion was, well, what if you just don't do it? There's enough evidence otherwise that this is happening. But I managed to convince my editor, look, if we get it from the doctor's point of view as to what they're actually saying to their patients, that will really bring the story to life, and it's important to show that's actually happening.